Boobies!
Hi.
And hello.
And welcome.
Welcome to
Boobies.
Boobies. That's right. We're your hosts.
I'm Joshua.
And I'm Caitlin. And we're here to talk to you about some scary, spooky stuff that gave Andrew nightmares after we watched it.
Yep.
Sweet baby.
Well, I have nightmares after watching all of the scary movies, apparently. 'Cause I had nightmares last night as well. But this actually ties into like one of my biggest fears because roller coasters.
You're afraid of roller coasters?
Roller coaster. Yeah.
No.
I don't like them.
Oh, I am a front seat kind of gal.
Oh,
I love them.
I like physically, like even just the thought of a roller coaster makes me want to vomit.
It also, yeah, I mean,
and my
making
stomach
sense
turning knots.
that you're, sensitive to motion.
I mean, my motion sickness is kind of maybe maybe that is all it is, but maybe
no, I feel like it's probably a part of it, but I think the phobia that comes along with it is probably very different.
Well, because there was like one time a few years ago, 2016 or 17, I don't remember, my friends wanted to go to the Six Flags, and I actually went, and I was like, I'm gonna regret this, but I'm gonna go, because I'm just thinking I'm just gonna be standing there the whole time, which I was, but finally I was like, all right.
They got a lot of carnivals games.
It's a thing too about like people who like roller coasters. They want other people to like roller coasters and get on the roller coasters.
That's true.
And I feel like, and not in a bad way, but most people who like roller coasters think they're going to be the one to like turn the person who doesn't like roller coasters. And so they were like, and so finally I'm like, all right, I'll get on. And it was the Batman.
Oh.
And first time I was like, I was like,
flips you upside down.
Yeah,
so
it's like
times.
a loop-de-loop and it goes fast. And I was just like, all right, I'm going to do
right?
it. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, okay.
I'm going to do it. And so I did it. And honestly, while I was on it, I was freaking out a bit, but I was telling myself, you know what, you're on it. Try to have fun. Just have fun. I think I was literally just like gritting to my teeth, just like, this is fun. This is so much fun. This is fun. Just screaming. And then finally we get into the thing and they're like, there was no other else in line to get on. So they were like, do y'all want to go again? And my friends were just like, yeah. And I'm like, oh Lord. And then they're like, we can let, they were about to be like, you can get off if you want. But I was like, I'm not going to be a little bitch. And so then I went through it one more time. And when I got off of it, I was so sick from the motion sickness that I literally the rest of the time, and they were there for probably 3 more hours, I was laying on a park bench with like one of the, like my friend's mom, because she was just chilling with me. And I was just like, I was vomiting. I couldn't. Yeah.
Some of them I have to always take ibuprofen, even when I was younger.
I should have took
because
some.
my head gets knocked around, especially on ones like that circle you around like that.
Yeah.
And it'll mess your head up. And the last time I was at Arlington, actually first and only time I've been to Arlington, because my father lives in San Antonio, and so we went to the San Antonio Six Flags.
That's
and then obviously I'm
Six
from
Flags of choice.
Yeah. And obviously I'm from the Houston area, so I grew up on Astroworld.
Gotcha.
And so, but
is Astroworld another Six Flags one?
Yes.
Okay.
But
gotcha.
it was demolished to be a parking lot.
Oh no. R.I.P.
Really sad. Astroworld was the fucking best.
So cute.
But
because they're all different names, if I'm not mistaken, right?
Yeah, there's Fiesta, Texas, Six Flags over Texas,
which is the Dallas or Arlington.
Yeah.
One. Yeah. Gotcha.
Yeah. And then Astroworld, which was Houston.
Cute.
And but so the biggest one there, I believe it's the giant, Texas Giant or something. Not the wooden one. That one might be the Texas Giant.
That's the wooden one, is the giant.
Okay.
The giant.
Then
but there's a Titan.
The Titan. Yes. Yeah. That ride.
That's huge.
Mwah, amazing.
Chef's kiss.
Yeah, love it. And Patrick and I rode it Patrick and I both love roller coasters, and because my father did too. So like we'd always go. And I think Brett also does. I don't want to say my middle brother doesn't.
The way that I'm getting like I honestly feel like a panic attack coming on. No, not really, but like just thinking of like that. But you know what else I do to myself?
That drop is so good.
I watched YouTube videos of POV shots of people on roller coasters. sometimes because I feel like this will ease this will like make me like them, and no, it's just like a trigger.
Well, half the time it looks like your head's gonna hit something, and especially on wooden roller coasters, every time I raise my arms up, I'm like, oh god, one's gonna get chopped off.
And then they're like all creaky.
Yes, yeah. There were parts on the Texas Giant while we were waiting in line. I was like, I don't know if that part's supposed to have sparks. But it is.
That's scary. They're so tall, they're so big, they go so fast. They are controlled essentially by like a hydraulic system that
could malfunction.
Yeah, there's or someone at the little button station could pass out and die in the moment of, and then
everyone's hitting each other, and
then everyone dies.
I think there's some more safety effects put in, but
I don't think so. No.
When we were getting on the Titan, though, we rode it 3 times because the first time we went on it, we were like, oh my God, that was fucking amazing. We waited to be in the front line or front seat.
And those lines take forever.
They do. And then we noticed that the line was not that long again, like maybe 30 minutes.
Yeah.
And so we were like,
so let's hop back in.
Yeah, we got back on immediately. And then we went and did some other roller coasters. And then we were like, we're going to end the night with this. And so we got all the way up, and then some motherfucker cut us, and we were about to get on. And then some bitch with a boot comes on. And I'm like, oh, man, I looked at Patrick. I said, we should have broke my leg.
Oh, because we got to let her go on first. Yeah. That's a nice thing to do.
And I was like, God damn it.
Fuck her.
I know.
She should have gone there sooner.
She should have.
Her boot don't make her special.
But then after they go, they shut the ride down. They're like, hey, there's some technical difficulties.
Saved your life.
We were right at we were right at the gate, so it was supposed to be our turn next. So then we had to end up waiting even more. I think someone had I don't know if it was there or maybe, I think it was one of the rides there though. Somebody pulled out a camera and they stopped the ride, and we were stopped on the tracks.
Yeah.
For 25 minutes because this person wouldn't put away their phone. And it was just put your fucking phone up. So whenever Frankie pulls out that camera again, I was like, fuck you, Frankie.
Yeah.
But they did a test run and everything, one empty cart, and it looked good to go. So then we were the
next group,
and we were riding front seat again.
Oh my God.
Because we were we're going to end it with a bang.
Yeah.
And then, so the moment that was, I will say probably one of the few times that I got on a roller coaster and
you
was
were nervous.
Yeah, shit. I was
this
fuck,
could be the
should
time.
I get off? I was like, I swear to God, if this is Final
I watched
Destination
the
3,
movie.
I'm going to die. And thankfully we got off fine, obviously.
You're here.
But that was one of the few
scary.
times where I was like, shit, we could die.
Great segue though, because what are we talking about?
Final Destination 3. If you haven't
read the title of this podcast. Yes. So 2006.
2006.
It's directed by James Wong.
That's true. He directed.
Who did the first one? Didn't do the second one.
Oh, he wasn't on the second one.
No. I think he might have had something in the producers spectrum of it, maybe. But
David R. Ellis directed it.
But he actually directed and was a part of writing the screenplay for this one.
Nice.
And the first one.
I really liked this one a lot.
It's your favorite, right?
It is, just because it has a lot of sentimental value for me. So we were talking about how the interactive features on the DVD.
Oh yeah, and you could choose what would happen.
Yeah, and so I was reading through some of the fun facts about it, and this is one of the films that the director and the DVD collaborated from the film's inception to its DVD release. The film was shot with the DVD interactive features in mind, therefore several scenes were filmed several times with varying outcomes.
Gotcha.
So you could pick your own ending.
That's smart.
Yeah, and I was like, that's really cool.
And they thought about that from the get-go.
Yeah, they did. And then the cast members on the roller coaster had to write it 26 times on the same night in order to shoot the film's main premonition scene. 26 times. You're like, nope. I would have been
body double. I
would have been someone out. I got off
I would have to not be, if they handed me if they said you got the part, and then I'm like, okay, now what's the script? And they're like, roller coaster. I'm like, ooh. I'm fired.
Fuck this shit, I'm out.
Break the contract. Yeah, no, I couldn't. That's 26 times. That's too many times.
Yeah, I know.
I mean, I think even for an enthusiast, but maybe at that point they're like, it's whatever. They're just getting on it. You know what I mean? Like autopilot.
Yeah.
Almost. I don't know. But I wonder if any of the actors actually had fears of the roller coaster, because kudos to them for conquering that. Is there some other weird fun fact?
There is. So at around 26 minutes, Mary Elizabeth Winstead, who plays Wendy, can't drive, so a stand-in had to be used when she pulled out of the school parking lot.
Oh, interesting. She can't drive? That's sad. I'm sorry.
I know. I was like,
you can't take yourself out.
That's kind of funny. I mean, they actually did use an actual home improvement store.
Oh, okay.
For the shots, and that basically they were only allowed in at night, and once the store was closed, and they had to leave the store the exact same way they found it. While different parts of the scenes were being filmed, other crew members were often putting objects back on the shelves. In addition,
like whenever all those saline or whatever bottles were like exploded.
I know. I was like, were those?
There was so much.
Those
stuff.
had to be props because I was like, unless they just, I guess, purchased all this stuff, they were like, okay, we're gonna buy all this because they just ran over those.
And then like all those steaks that they had falling, and like there was a lot of mess they created to have to clean up.
I know. I read that fact before watching it again, and then so I was watching it with that in mind, and I was just like,
bunch of shit.
How in the world? I was like, y'all must have had to buy all this, or I don't know. Like, someone was.
Maybe it was a part of the
whole
fee,
time,
like in purchasing time to be there. I don't know.
Yeah, I guess
we could do
so.
what we want. Essentially, I don't
know. Let's see. The scene taking place in the tanning booth was a closed set. Only the camera operators were in the same room with
the girls.
The girls, and black curtains were draped to keep onlookers out since both actresses were nude. But it was the Corkscrew. Most of the roller coaster footage was filmed on Corkscrew at Playland, part of Pacific National Exhibition in Vancouver, British Columbia.
In Canada. Everything's filmed in Canada.
Yeah, no. The actual ride is much tamer and slower, it says, and only contains a double corkscrew inversion compared to Devil's Flight, which contains multiple vertical loops and multiple corkscrew sections.
Yeah.
So
we'll get into it, but that roller coaster was something else.
Whoa. Ashley Tisdale auditioned for the role of Erin, but lost. Vanessa Hudgens auditioned for the role of Julie, but lost to Amanda Crew.
That's interesting. Wait, which one was Erin? Her friend, right?
Erin was the nail gun.
Oh, gotcha.
Yeah.
You're right.
And then Julie was her younger sister.
Rip off Haley. She gives me, oh my gosh, Haley from Paramore.
Oh, Haley Williams?
Yeah.
Julie does?
No.
Oh, the girl who played Erin.
The girl, the redhead. Yeah. Hill Country Fair version.
A very, no one can be as perfect as her. So,
but we have it starting, right? We got the opening credits, just like any other good Final Destination movie.
Same music.
And it's kind of giving me like American Horror Story season 4, where it was like the circus freak show like type of opening vibe.
We weren't in a bedroom.
Not in a bedroom this
creepy,
time. Yeah,
like shots of the person's room. We were just getting unsettling shots of a carnival.
Yeah, which is pretty cool. It's shaking it up a little bit. And then at this point, we do get our opening crew. We have Elizabeth Winstead's character, right? Who is playing Wendy.
Yes.
And she's with her friends. I forget her boyfriend, Jason, right?
Jason,
Jay. And then her friend. And
Carrie and Kevin.
Yeah. And we do have a picture of her taking a picture of the high dive thing.
Yeah.
But
she, I guess, she's afraid of roller coasters, not a fan of them.
Yeah.
And so she was on the ground while the three of them were riding this dropping
That's right. Yeah.
sensation
That's
roller
right.
coaster.
It's like the Superman.
Yeah, exactly. I love rides like that.
There's one like that at the fair that they do every here.
Yeah. Okay. Like I love roller coasters.
Don't go on fair rides.
Don't go. I did get stuck upside down this was at the Chemo Boardwalk. We got like stuck upside down on one of the rides there.
Gotcha.
And this was, I think, also before they like really made it nice. And they had to like come get us off. So
that's scary.
Yeah.
And yet you still love roller coasters.
I do.
Okay. That's because those are carny rides.
Yeah. So I don't go on a lot of carnival rides. I also don't go to a lot of carnivals.
That's true.
So.
And so they are, she's waiting for them. And so she ends up trying to capture a picture of it. And the sign ends up saying the high die, right? Because the V is like off on the photo, but it's on in real life. Yeah.
So it's like,
so it's already like, wait, what? That's weird.
Yeah. And we were kind of getting, so that's like our first hint that these photos are going to be kind of telling and progressing the narrative.
That's true.
Because that's very different from the previous films. Photos weren't as big of an indicator as to what was going to happen.
It was like a seating chart, and then it was a just recollection of what had happened on Kimberly's vision, you know, from like who died first, but it was going last, like backwards anyways.
And then also she kept getting extra premonitions.
Yeah, that's true. Hers were different.
There was only the like singular premonition really
in the first
this one.
Oh, and in this one, yeah. You're right.
I mean, they got a few like little hints at like the bus in the window and stuff in the first.
That's true. You're right.
But
this one, there was no other like stuff like that.
Yeah.
It was
but all of the hints were given to them in the photos, which was cool. I liked that.
It's a different take.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It seems maybe a little more believable.
And at this point, they are trying not to repeat everything that they've done in the previous 2 installments.
Yeah.
Because at this point, I mean, it's essentially
a healthy twist.
And in every movie, it's essentially we're getting the same thing. It's the same formula. People escape death. They start to die in weird, various ways while trying to avoid it.
Very gruesome ways.
Yeah. And it's so it's smart.
Yeah.
And it's like to where it's not necessarily switching it so far out of the way where we're like, well, this is taking us out of the final destination, you know, element.
Yeah. It did. I thought it did a really great job.
Yeah. Did you notice that Kevin was, I don't know if you noticed, he is an actor from a lot of Disney Channel original movies.
Yes.
The Luck of the Irish.
Yeah. I did recognize him.
Smart House.
Yeah.
Those are some good ones.
I'm still scared of my nest sometimes.
They can take over. They will.
I'm like,
one day.
Oh God, it's going to get me.
She's learning everything about you.
I know.
They, them. Sorry.
They, them. And I have so much like technology things now, like with the cat's feeder and they're like
they're all communicating.
And I have my little cameras that I watch the cats through. Basically all the technologies. My cats have a water filter. I didn't until
we rely so much on technology though.
Saturday.
So much. Like even just like if we were to not have Wi-Fi, like an internet connection, like our
new final destination,
society would collapse.
Wi-Fi explosion. We all die.
And so we have them getting off the ride. They're all talking and they're
getting like some food, I guess, before they have to go make their reservation for the Devil's Flight, because basically we also kind of figure out that it's a like carnival night for their high school, and I believe for the seniors. Yeah. So it's like senior night kind of thing. But
Wendy's getting like really weird vibes throughout the whole time. There's just little things happening and you can tell she's given this whole like, what's going on?
Yeah, she's like, on edge.
Yeah. That's like, right. She's high anxiety alert.
Looking over her shoulder every 2 seconds.
Which could tie into like because she's, you know, afraid of the roller coasters. And throughout the whole movie, it's kind of, they always tie in that she's such a control freak, which I know is another part of like why people are afraid of roller coasters, because you can't control what's going on. Yeah.
Yeah. And so they're going to eat some dinner. I guess dinner. It's definitely dark. But fucking Kevin
breakfast
takes a picture of that girl's skirt.
Yeah.
And like right next to his girlfriend. And
yeah, I thought that was weird.
I would be pissed if my boyfriend like pulled some shit like that.
Yeah.
Like,
I feel like it's also
high school
like
or not.
06 vibes.
That's true.
I don't know. I feel like times are very telling and different of like how people react to things.
Because she was like, and then eventually she was like, I was going to break up with him. I'm just waiting until after graduation. I wanted to do it. She ends up telling Wendy that. Yeah.
Which kind of doesn't come into play later, but like we get
his side of the story.
His side of how he was feeling. Yeah. And kudos, like kind of like give it to Wendy for not even mentioning it, because like what's the point? It would only like make him maybe feel worse than what he's been feeling. So yeah,
I know my bitch ass would have been like, she was going to break up with you.
Literally. But yeah, so they end up talking, the girls, and then we get the guys coming back with the food. And then at this point, I think on my note, what can Kevin get? I don't even know.
Can Kevin?
Oh, because her friend, she's like, I'm so sorry. Kevin can get a little out of control sometimes or whatever. I'm like, what? No. But anyways.
A little out of control.
And so he's just being a skis and a little bit of a dick.
Then we basically get this montage of Wendy going through, taking photos of all the... She's basically collecting the photos that are going to come in to play later and basically show us how everyone's going to die.
Yeah, but what she knows so far is that these are just, I guess she's probably, she's part of the journalism, the yearbook. Yeah, there we go.
And so she had her little camera. She takes pictures of Ashley, the Ashleys. Yeah. I put Ashley, another girl. I couldn't remember. They're both Ashley. Yeah. Okay. Winning the prize. then she runs into her sister, Julie, and she's like, "You're not a senior." And then this comeback that Miss Cutest Couples, rah, rah. I was like, what? That was the dumbest thing I've ever heard.
Yeah, her character throughout the whole movie kind of annoyed me.
Yeah.
Yeah. But I guess that's what little sisters are supposed to do. I don't know.
I guess. Never had one.
Me either. And so that's whenever we have, and Caitlin is not an only child. Riddle. Caitlin's never had a little sister, but she's not an only child. So what does that mean?
What does that make her?
And so we have her having that whole interaction with her sister. Her sister flips her off. She gets a picture of her doing that, which also comes into play later. Those girls, Ashley's, they were playing that little water clown game and winning a prize. We'd have the dude, what's his name? Lewis. She goes to Lewis, and he's at what are those things called? Where the test your strength, right? The little
where you like hit the hammer to the bell, and he knocks it the right head of that thing, clean off. Bling.
Sure does. And that's whenever you can tell that a lot of these pictures that she's taken too, even she's noticing there's something off about them or something, or the vibe's weird.
Something feels a little ominous.
And then we get her going towards the Devil's Ride, right?
Yep. And this is where we get Tony Todd in the film.
He's the voiceover.
He is the voice at here and on the subway at the end. So,
which I did, but I did miss him physically.
I did too.
Yeah,
but I'm glad that they didn't just ditch him completely. And
they still found a way to get him in there. Yeah,
without them just like now 6 years later going to the same morgue. And thing like that. Because also we were in a completely different area.
Location.
Yeah, we weren't in New York, so it would have been weird. Well, but he is supposed to be like the embodiment of death, so he could be anywhere. That's true.
But it was cool. It was different. It was nice. He gets to be this big old devil monster
saying very ominous things like this is the beginning of the end, blah blah blah, that you're gonna die,
which would not encourage me to keep going. But
no. And it did not encourage her to keep going. She almost backed out.
Her friends though are very insistent on like, you're gonna be okay, you're just scared, you're such a control freak, it's gonna be okay. And so she's just telling her Jason, she's like, I've got deja vu, and he's just like, you're just freaking out essentially.
I've got some deja vu for something that hasn't even happened yet, but this feels like wrong. Something feels off, basically.
And we got our skis, Mr. what's his name? Frankie.
God.
Trying to like, he's just videotaping the girls, which he's been doing the whole time. And then he's got his little necklace of like this female that he's like licking and like trying to like make moves on them.
Frankie Cheeks.
Yeah.
And then as we're going up through the line too, we're kind of meeting everyone. We run into Aaron and Ian as well.
McKinley. And
they're basically saying the odds are like 1 of 250 million. Like you're really, it's really rare.
Of people dying on a roller coaster accident.
Yeah. And I guess they're also like major physics nerds because they kept dropping like physics shit every like from the get. And then they drop it again in the
later on
hardware store. Yeah. And so I guess they like physics.
They're smart. They're nerds.
Wasn't my favorite class.
Yeah. I don't even think I've ever taken a physics class.
I loved chemistry. But
I did take one of those. I caught stuff
physics.
on fire.
Nice. Love it. But yeah, Frankie Cheeks sitting there licking that, licking the little mud flap girl. Yeah. And I was just like, ew.
What
they
is
were
it?
Clearly, it's like mud. She's on the mud
flaps. Yeah, on trucks.
Yeah, on trucks. Yeah.
I getcha.
One of those little girls, sitting with her knees up, and she got real perky boobies. Perky boobs. But yeah, really gross. And then we flash back to our main people, and they're trying to send them to the first stall. And well, she's having none of that.
She doesn't want to go in the first stall or first whatever it's called. Yeah, stall, cart. But anyways, because she's like, I'm not going to sit at the front. And so that's whenever she wants to sit in the back. And so the boyfriend wants to sit back there with her, but he can't because he's already in the ride, right?
Well, he wanted, so basically, like, Kevin tried to send Carrie back there, and Carrie was like, I'm going to Brown. I want to celebrate. I want to sit in the front seat. And then Kevin was like, okay, let's settle this like men, and did a coin flip. And he called heads in the air, and I guess it was tails.
That's right.
So then Jay went and sat up with Carrie, and Kevin went back there with her. And I was just like, why not just go with your fucking girlfriend?
That's what I was thinking.
Yeah, I was a little bit like, okay. But also, I mean, I don't think if my partner didn't want to go in the front stall, no, I would go with them. And then I'd say, wait, I'm going to ride it again.
But I'm going to go in the front.
Yeah.
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 You were being chivalrous.
Yeah. But I also wouldn't make my partner like ride it in the first place. Unless it was something like if they like honestly felt comfortable with it. Because like I've been to an amusement park where I just was like, okay, well, I'm going to go get in line. Yeah. I would wait. And so I mean, I don't expect everyone to like roller coasters like I do. They're definitely not for everyone.
Well, it's just if you don't like roller coasters, why even go to a roller coaster adjacent area? Like, why go somewhere where there will be roller coasters?
Yeah.
Especially if you're going to people who like roller coasters. Just don't.
I typically only try to invite people. Like, that's why Patrick and I go together a lot. Is because we both like them. And then there's two of us, so we can just...
Yeah. Man,
seating situation.
I want to be one so bad, but I don't know if it'll happen. But we do have everyone. What were we at?
They get sent to lane 6.
Oh yeah, that's right.
Which also
and there was
fills...
little kids waiting in the little seat.
Yeah, they like
get
cut
kicked off. Yeah,
they could like cut them in line, and then they're like, "Wow, get out of here!"
Yeah. And
Frankie was sitting there like fucking weird, and then like hopped into the seat behind the Ashleys, and that was why then they had to like. That's why the little kids were there too. I don't know. It was very confusing, but then they get on and boyfriend says, meet you at the end kind of thing. And like, then all of a sudden everyone's kind of pulling out loose objects. He's getting like, Kevin's getting stuck to gum.
Yeah.
All these things that just, shouldn't be on a roller coaster.
Little signs.
Yeah.
We have them trying to fix Lewis's what are those called? Seatbelt, but not seatbelt. Arm. The straps.
Yeah. The shoulder rest.
Shoulder rest. Yeah.
Shoulder pads.
Yeah, no. Those things that they pull over people on the roller coasters because
lap bar. No, that's not a lap bar.
Because those are the ones that are down here.
Yeah.
But anyways, the cage of death is being put on him more securely, and then essentially we have
which you would want.
Yeah.
I wouldn't want to be wiggling around.
No, I've been in a roller coaster before where I've gone up and I'm like, I don't like that.
I've been on a few whenever I was like little, and I was like just barely the height, and I was definitely like still way too small. And so then like every time,
reality weren't big enough.
No, we'd go upside down, and then there's like still this big like 5-inch gap or something, like, and so I'd be like, fall to the armrest, and then plop back down into my seat.
I know that feeling. Yeah.
And then also it really made you feel like you're gonna die.
Yeah, that's scary.
I love it,
especially because of the like how fast everything's going as well. You're feeling all that G-force. And so we have gay force. So we have them essentially getting sent off to their doom. The ride takes off. It's going up like any other roller coaster does. It's very slow. They're climbing up to the ascent.
Frankie has his fucking camera
out. Has his camera out.
Which I don't even get why. Like he's not going to be able to get
it's gonna be blurry.
Their boobs.
Yeah, it's blurry as well because everything's going fast. But we have them, we're seeing like the tracks. Like there's like a hydraulic line or something, some fluid that's coming out and a little screw that's like come undone or something at some point.
Things that you probably don't want to see on a roller coaster. Fluid leaking, stuff like that.
Yeah, and then we get a really good view of the entire roller coaster as they're going up. It's huge and it's massive. I'm like, oh, I would not want to be on this roller coaster.
I was like, looks like fun.
But at this point, they're going up, and then once the roller coaster gets all the way to the top, we see that it like comes off of a chain or something, or the chain stops.
That's
the train to
normal.
Track. That's normal?
Yeah.
Oh,
because
okay.
So basically the chain pulls you up, and then it releases you
and then
down, and then it's just the like force of everything coming down from that height and the like weight of the coaster that pulls you through, and then so it's like a push and pull of like velocity, and then
that's horrible.
Every time, like whenever you're going up to another big hill, it'll like catch you on another chain, pull you up really fast, drop you down again. The
there
first
are
drop
chains
is
throughout though.
Yeah,
and
occasionally.
Catch you.
Yeah,
got you to slow it down or something. Because I'm thinking even too, as this was, I was like, oh my god, they're off the chain, because when they were like going through it, I'm like, I feel like this roller coaster is like going more fast than it probably should be going or something. It felt like it was going absurdly fast. I don't know.
Yeah, I think they're there to probably slow you down a bit, just so that way you're not hitting like ungodly levels of G's,
and then just like
but then also
off.
to like help you make sure that the rest of it doesn't slow down again, because it has to get you up high enough. That's why the first drop is always the biggest.
Yeah.
So that way you get
all
lot
that
of
force behind you, all the energy. Yeah.
And then it'll pull you up again to get you through the rest of the ride.
Yeah.
I'm sorry.
That's so scary.
I love it.
And so they're on it. They're going down. And this roller coaster is fast. I'm telling you, I put, holy shit, this thing is going fast. We're kind of catching everybody's, it's their reaction of them going on a roller coaster. Like, woo, yay, screaming. And like, and terrifying. And like,
everyone's having a good time though. Except for Wendy.
What's his face? Frankie's got that camera. He's like trying to record everything. He's yelling at the girls at one point, yeah, show us your titties.
Yeah.
And he ends up dropping the camera,
like
and it ends
fucking
up
idiot.
wrapping around the roller coaster, like the rail, right? The track below them. And so they're coming on this loop and going down, and they end up hitting that camera, and everything just kind of essentially takes off from here.
Basically derails everything. The front half goes first. They basically just like go bye-bye. And then the second half, so like Jason, Carrie, gone.
Yeah.
And then the second half, so like Lewis and back basically, or the twins, not twins, the girls and back, Ashley's and back, is what's now still going through.
Yeah.
And yeah, we're just getting, as they're going through,
brutal
like
deaths.
It's not slowing down at all. Basically, they're coming into this corkscrew thing, and that's when like Lewis gets fucking like
yeeted off. Yeah, because he gets thrown off.
Yeah, holding on.
And then Kevin tries to hold on to him, but he gets hit by this like thing that flew off from earlier. We have then like blood getting all over Wendy and Kevin. They're freaking out. She's trying to hold Kevin, which I'm like, how is that even possible? How can she like hold him while they're going like this? And then they end up
moms can lift cars.
Getting stuck up there. That's whenever Ian and Aaron end up falling off. And then he does this thing where he's like, let's rock it. I'm like, why would you rock it?
Yeah.
If anything, I would try to like climb off of it and on top of like the coaster.
Actual track. Yeah.
Because it was unstable.
Well, and also they weren't hanging by their hands like Aaron and Ian were. And so like, yes, the blood's going to rush to your head, but
you could have just waited there. You
could have like waited that out a bit and then probably saved yourself. But of course,
they decide to rock it.
They rock
it ends
it and
up going
send themselves back.
And which we saw earlier, that part of the track like popped up. So when they're coming back, ends up like getting cut in half.
He does,
because there was something sticking up. And then whenever she's going backwards, they hit that thing that was popped up, and it just like derails the entire last few carts that are hooked up, and she falls off and dies.
Yep.
And then we come to, and it was all a vision.
Yep, and
just
we're
like
right
always.
back with her and her camera, because she was trying to get a picture on the coaster before it started moving of like, for the yearbook. But then we're coming back to the guy's hand in front of her face saying like, hello, can't you read? No loose objects. And Kevin's like, oh, can I just put it in my pocket? Yeah. But of course, she rightly starts freaking out and basically saying like,
we're all going to crash. This is going to crash. There's going to be an accident.
Yeah, we have to get off. Just like they all have.
Just like Flight 180.
Yep.
Just like Kimberly. It's happening again to Wendy.
Yep. And so then they get off basically the whole back half. So Ashley's back. So that's saving Ashley. That's saving Ashley's
Frankie,
Lewis,
two other people that we don't know just yet, but they're going to be there. And then Kevin and Wendy.
Aaron.
Oh, Ian and Aaron, you're right. And Wendy.
Then Wendy and Kevin, yep.
Which leaves Jason and Carrie. Up at the front still. They can't get off. And even Jason's like, hey, like, I got to get off. That's my girlfriend, because Lewis and Kevin ended up getting into a fight. And so they're all getting kicked off. And Jay wants to get off, but they won't let him.
Yeah, they had only opened the back half, which is, I don't really think that's a thing. I think
they all open.
Open.
Nothing, yeah.
Most of what I've always experienced in roller coasters. But I obviously haven't been to every single theme park in the world.
And so, they end up
love to do that.
Saying like, hi, ho, let's go. And the roller coaster takes off. And of course, they're getting kicked out, and she's still combating with them. And what happens? The roller coaster pops off.
Yep. They're like, they're like walking around, and they're saying like, what's your home phone number? Like, we'll call your parents. And then, of course, as she's like in hysterics, everyone just... It derails, and we watch it happen in real time. And then we flash to the school,
and it's raining.
And I said, this
Sad
is why
vibes.
she turns evil and becomes a villain in Sky High.
Oh yeah, I love that movie.
Me too. Classic.
I think Sky High came out the year before this too, so she must have filmed them like back to back.
Nice. Good for her.
Yeah.
She did.
And probably after this, she did
same.
Scott Pilgrim's versus the World. That she was going. She was getting booked.
I know. Yeah, she was the it girl of that time.
Yeah,
she was in a lot of things. Though.
Yeah, around that area. And you know who came the it girl right after her? Emma Stone. And then after Emma Stone, it was Jennifer Lawrence.
She
and
was
then
funny.
after her, I don't think there's been I think that's shifted. I don't think there's like Zendaya.
Oh, Zendaya has been in a lot.
Yeah. Anyways, all right. Yeah, it's raining. She's going back to school. She's obviously hasn't been here in a minute. She's just collecting her things. And it's giving like senior who like really finished everything and doesn't have to be like at school for the last like 2 weeks or so or whatever.
Even though also all of the lights were off.
Yeah, that was weird too well.
But people were outside, so I was like, what?
Yeah, I didn't get it either. I couldn't tell what was going on.
Set the mood.
But she ends up seeing a memorial for all the students who died, her boyfriend. Vigil. She then sees a candle and like gets that weird vibe again, and the flame gets blown out by a strange ominous wind.
And it was only one of the candles too.
Not all of them.
So yeah, she watched one singular candle flicker and then proceed to blow out, and then all the rest were lit. And so it was like, that's kind of weird.
Yeah.
And then does she go and throw Jason's picture away? Because she like clears everything from her locker, and I'm pretty sure she puts that shit right in the trash.
I think she does too.
I was like,
yeah. I mean, she's grieving.
But I wouldn't throw his picture away.
I mean, I think she's probably just pissed off. She's probably angry at the world.
Yeah.
Her boyfriend's dead.
I feel like
she was pretty upset.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I feel like that would make me want to keep the picture more.
Maybe
be like,
she was too
nothing
hurt.
can ever happen to this photo.
Or she might have other ones, or maybe she was just trying to like put it away. Like she didn't. It was too hard to look at the picture. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But
she runs into Kevin,
and she's cutthroat with him.
Yeah, and Kevin's basically comes up to her. He says, "I made a promise to Jay that I would take care of you," because whenever Jay sent Kevin back to sit with her on the roller coaster, he says,
"Yeah,
take care of her for me," or something, or like look out for her for me. And she says, "You made a promise to Jay to look out for me on the ride for 3 minutes, not
the rest of life.
The rest of our lifetime.
You're off the hook, essentially."
Yeah. So stop worrying about me. Worry about yourself.
Yeah. And then she ends up walking away. She is going through a courtyard, essentially, it looks like, and walking and just letting the rain like just get her all mopped up and wet. I'm just like, girl, you look so sad.
You do. A little drowned rat.
The Ashleys come to like try to invite her to go tanning with them because they're gonna get ready for graduation or something like that.
As they walk off, they go, "That was so nice of us."
Yeah, I know. Which I mean, honestly, it was kind of nice of them, but they're so vapid. Yeah. And we do hear like her sister was talking to her friends about her. She's essentially just like going through it. Yeah. She's taking it really hard. And they're all just like, oh my God, she's weird and depressed.
Yeah. Yeah. It was like, because she looked a little odd.
Yeah.
But then we also get Ian and Aaron sitting there, and Ian is coloring over the word McKinley, their high school, his name. And he's saying, why does my name have to be the same fucking as my, like, last name have to be the same as my high school?
Yeah.
Which, of course, it was like the goth emo kid who had the same name. Which is like mortifying, I feel like, for a goth emo high school kid.
Oh, of course. Yeah.
But yeah, so that was where we get his last name, though, because the McKinley becomes a
place throughout the whole movie.
Yeah.
And then later on, or not later on, but we do have her walking off. She's trying to get in her car, and that's whenever Mr. Kevin comes up to her and he's like, what's happened to you is not the first time it's happened to other people. He starts explaining to her literally, which is, I'm like, how does he have all this information?
Yeah. But, he's like, you're not alone. This has happened before.
This happened to Flight 180, and it happened to this one guy, and like he and his friends got, saved themselves, but then after they started dying, and then like you can intervene if you save someone else. And I'm like, what? Like, what subreddit somewhere?
I know he had to have been on.
Has all of this information from like, because I'm like, I feel like only the people who would know about that are the people who are dead.
Yeah, maybe who knows? Clear could have chronologicalized something or
made something for future people.
Yeah,
I don't know.
And I mean, maybe Kimberly did. We don't actually know what happens to Kimberly.
It's true.
That we only end with the arm getting blown off. So who knows? They could have. And yeah, he basically goes through all of it and tells her, he sums up real nicely what in the world's about to happen to them. And she's like, whatever, like, I don't believe you. And I was like, well, you're about to believe, because we flash to the tanning salon. We're about to get our first major death. I was honestly a little shocked watching this back. I didn't realize the tanning bed death was the first one.
I didn't remember.
I remembered
remember
almost.
either.
Well, I remembered. I clearly notated all of these deaths and mentioned them in other episodes. But yeah, I just was like, oh fuck, we're at the tanning bed scene already, because it's just so
the movie
horrifying.
does move pretty fast.
It's
very fast. It feels like a short film.
I was, because it's an hour and 33 minutes. Whenever it was over, I was like,
oh, that's it.
Yeah, because I noticed we were starting to get towards the end, and I was like, wait, what? It's already been an hour and 33. It was like, it was so fast.
It went by fast.
You like blink and it's over. Like, it's good. It keeps you in. There's no downtime.
Yeah.
No downtime. No time to think about what the hell is happening. They like, one person dies. Okay, we got to figure out the next death right now.
Because essentially it's all happening back to back within the same day. Because the other ones, at least there's like maybe even time, like weeks or days. It's over a span of time.
Death ain't got no time.
Yeah.
It's like, we playing catch up, bitch.
And so we have the girls tanning. Wendy is going through all of her stuff at home. She's noticing like all the pictures. Her sister comes in and is kind of being a bitch to her. But
I have Julie as a bitch.
Yeah. Well, her sister is a bitch. But she's being a bitch to her, and that's whenever Wendy is like, look, I just need your help. Like, I want you to come stay with me when I move out, all this stuff.
They have this bonding moment. Parents?
I think they do. Yeah. Because even Julie mentions their dad later on in the film.
Oh, okay.
They have parents, but I feel like maybe they
really
just
hands
aren't
off.
Maybe they aren't close at all, whatever. It doesn't even seem like Julie and Wendy are that close at all anyways either.
No, it seems like they hate each other.
Yeah, it isn't until like Julie has to kind of like be super vulnerable or Wendy is super vulnerable with Julie, that Julie is kind of like, I will be there for you. Like, it turns into this kind of mushy, like, okay, yeah, like, we are sisters, we love each other. And she's like, you keep the bracelet. And she's like,
and I'll come get it for you when I visit.
Yeah. But I also loved how it's just like, it's very transactional, because even Julie's like, okay, well, as like your part, can I get the camera?
Yeah.
Like, yeah.
I want to take pictures for graduation tonight since you're not going.
Yeah.
So graduation's going to be happening. And Julie, once she asked for the camera, Wendy's like, okay, well, let me charge it, because it's probably like super dead.
Yeah. And so she's doing that. But as she's doing this, she's actually finally going through all the pictures that she took on the night of the carnival and senior night. And that's whenever she's realizing like she's getting all these little clues and hints that are making her feel like, oh, wait, something's about to happen to Ashley.
Something's wrong.
Yeah.
And of course, while like she's kind of unfolding that, we're flashing back and forth between the tanning bed and with the Ashleys and her. And so like the owner of the tanning salon is Yuri, I believe is his name. And he's on the phone. He's not
running his business well, because he's on the phone and he's in and out, because he only gets good reception outside of the building. And so I think that at this point, they've mentioned it, how it happens every time they're there. They already know what it's like. So they're just like, you know what?
We'll just serve
you handle
ourselves.
it and we'll do it ourselves. Yeah.
We know we've done this 1,000 times before. We can do it. But of course, they make some fatal mistakes, as in locking the front door, saying be back in 30 minutes, because they don't want anyone to walk in on them naked, which is like, okay, I understand.
But still. And then he also tells them to get rid of their drinks, and when Ashley one pretends to throw away both of them but doesn't throw away the other one.
Yeah, she keeps one of them. And then of course the first time he used something more solid to prop the door, but the second time he uses a bottle of suntan lotion, and it's gonna all,
you can already tell like this is a perfect concoction for death
exactly. And then basically like we flash kind of back to Wendy as she's looking through, and she sees the photos of the Ashleys and is like, uh-oh. And then she sees the photo that shows Jason's death. Basically, he's posing in front of, I feel like it's probably one of the most iconic photos from the film. I feel like it's on most of the like little thumbnails and stuff, but it's Jason posing in front of
the devil's behind him as well.
And then there's just this perfect little beam of light shining on a part of the track, and that was the track where the coaster lost control. So she's like, oh wait, something's happening. It cues her in like, I saw how Jason was basically going to die. It showed me right here.
And so she looks at the Ashley's photos.
Yep. And then we get back to the tanning room. And of course, one of the Ashleys is cold. Brunette Ashley is cold. And she's like, let's turn up the AC. And then blonde Ashley sets her drink down, which is always bad.
And we see like to this little high voltage like wiring system, whatever it is, that says shouldn't exceed 250. So obviously we know this is going to go over 250.
Yeah, it's got to.
Yeah, so all
and
these
they're looking
things
for
are going bad.
CDs.
And they dissed Britney.
I know. I put Celine Britney and I was like, gasp. I mean, at that time she was going through
2006.
it.
Yeah, that's why I was like, that's why everybody was bashing Britney at that time.
Leave Britney alone.
Yeah, for real.
And but then she pulls the shelf a bit loose.
Oh yeah,
there,
that's right.
Which is gonna be bad. Now, tanning salons. This was like a goof. Tanning salons are not allowed to have any hanging racks above the beds for reasons like this. Like even at that time, that was like a law. Like that can't be a thing. I didn't either because I don't tan.
Gotcha.
Until reading some fun facts on IMDb.
Okay, cool.
But yeah, so they fit like legally. This could not be a situation you could be in. Also, that no one's going to leave their business unattended.
Yeah,
like
that's
that.
True.
And
so they end up getting naked, undressed. We have some boobies out. And
5 out of 10.
That's whenever.
I mean, 5 out of 5.
They were nice boobs. They had nice bodies, and so they end up getting into the what do they call it? The machines, the beds,
the tanning
beds. And at that point, we do have them. We find out what song they chose, and it.
Hey there, homeowners. Is it time to give your yard a complete makeover this summer? Villani Landshapers, a local family-owned business, has been transforming landscapes for more than 20 years. Villani Landshapers specializes in landscape design build, retaining walls, outdoor living spaces, and so much more. Request your free consultation today and check out their gallery of residential work at villani-landshapers.com.
From the host of the popular podcast, The Only One in the Room, Stash by Laura Cathcart-Robbins is a propulsive and vivid memoir about the journey to sobriety and self-love amidst addiction, privilege, racism, and self-sabotage. Best-selling author Holly Whitaker calls it an irresistibly delicious story, and MacArthur Foundation fellow and best-selling author Kiese Lehman says Stash is emotionally riveting. Buy Stash by Laura Cathcart-Robbins now, wherever books are sold.
As if the McCrispy couldn't get any better, Bacon and Ranch just entered the chat. The Bacon Ranch McCrispy, available at participating McDonald's for a limited time. Ba-da-ba-ba-ba.
Roller Coaster of Love. I don't know who it's by, but I know
everyone
I've heard it
knows
before.
the
Everyone
song.
Roller Coaster. Bow, bow, long. Oh wait, of love, right? There we go. And so that's whenever they're just like bobbing their little feet. They're enjoying.
They're having a good time.
They really
They're
are.
just dancing with their little tibbies out in the bed.
They really are. This is like a good time for them.
And it was so funny to me that they like shit on Celine and Britney, but then they're like, "This is my jam."
Yeah. Well, and then they were like, "Are we the only people that come to tan at this place?"
Yeah.
But yeah, they it's an oldie but a goodie. They're taking it back.
And we had also already seen Yuri get locked out as well.
That's true.
The tube has been depleted.
So he's out there. He wouldn't be able to get back in. Wendy is getting all these vibes. She calls or tries to call whatchamacallit Ashley, but it's not. She doesn't pick up.
Yeah.
I think before that, my bad, her sister tried to come back into the camera. She's like, I just need a moment.
Yeah.
Can you not?
Leave me alone.
Yeah. And so that's whenever we do have her even saying on the phone on the voicemail, she's like, I'm sorry, it's too late.
Yeah.
And the girls are literally baking because the tree thing falls, like this fake little plant falls and the shells fall in and they get
the drink has been sweating.
Yeah,
it falls right onto that machine, that VAC or whatever. And
high voltage.
Saw that it should never be above 250. It's steadily creeping from 230. The AC temp is also
going up,
rising.
Everything's happening.
It's at 305 at this point, and then that's when the AC kicks on and knocks the wobbly coat hanger rack over onto the tree, and then the tree falls onto the CD rack, knocking that down, which successfully locks them in because it's just long enough of a shelf to basically get caught in the tanning bed doors and seal them in. We're at 350, like a solid 100 over what it should be now on the VAC, and their skin is bubbling. Like they're getting,
at this point they're just like going through it because of course they started noticing it was getting too hot. They can't get out. It gets so hot that like the glass breaks inside the tanning beds, and they just like are just
fall into
on the pure lights. Yeah, they fall into the light.
I can't
and
even
then they catch on fire.
imagine that pain, like having your skin being burned to lesions and
literally
then
like an oven.
having it get cut open.
Yeah.
Oh God. And then they're just on fire and they're burning to death.
Like rotisserie chickens.
Yep. And then it has this beautiful shot. This is I remembered this shot. Like from rewatching it, like I knew it was going to happen again, and I was like, I remember thinking it even the first time I watched it, I was like, that was such a cool shot.
Aerial?
Yeah, the aerial of the two tanning beds as
just
it transitions to the two coffins. I was like,
oh, I get what you mean.
That's nice.
Okay,
that was a good transition.
Yeah.
I loved it.
I gotcha.
Yeah.
Yeah. And we're at the funeral. Mr. McKinley isn't having it because the person who's giving the eulogy is like talking about something about luck or...
It says we're all equal in death's eyes.
That's right.
And he says equal in death's eyes? All of us? How can you say that? Dude, think it through. Charlie Manson made it to 70. Osama, still kicking. Pimps, vice president, walking around. All the atrocities they've committed, they're alive and well. These two girls never done shit to anybody. They don't get to make it to 18. Where's the fucking equality in that?
Yeah.
That's what he says.
And then, of course, Luis has to, like, escort him off. I'm like, there's a time and place, man. But,
I know,
yeah,
it was like,
I get it, though.
The man's just trying to say some things to make some people feel better, dude.
Right.
Like, also, were you that close to them?
I don't think
so. If it was Aaron's funeral, I would have maybe understood a little bit more.
Yeah.
But I was like, this seems like a really outrageous kind of outburst for him to be having at their funeral.
But we do have then Kevin, after it's all over, walking away with Luis, whatever. We get him having a call, and it's from Wendy, and she's like, I'm with Jay.
I lost it.
I laughed.
I cracked up.
Because he just turns around, and she's literally like...
just sitting
10 feet away.
on the ground in Texas.
Not even a Jay.
Yeah. I thought, like, that could be, like, she's about to, like, you know, go be with Jay. What does this mean?
Yeah.
Like... Not hello,
I just thought
no
it was
hey.
so funny that like she could have just been like, hey.
It's like the pine cone and ugly sweater party.
Literally like that. She was right there. She was so close. She's just like ominous on the phone. I'm with Jay. Anyways, he walks over. She's at his tombstone essentially, and they're just talking about death and what she's been feeling, and it's essentially the whole conversation with Alex from Final Destination 1, where he's just like between Claire and him, and he's just like, I just feel this feeling like it's not over and death is after us. And
it feels like this presence, like a living presence that's always with me. It's just surrounding her.
To where they, on cue, the leaves and air starts swirling around her and them.
Because they were talking about wanting to feel like Jay's presence or Carrie's presence. And he was like, well, do you think it's Jay? And she said, no, this is the opposite of Jay. It's cold and terrifying. Like, this is nothing like how he made me feel. Yeah. And that's, the wind. And that's some, I was like, that's some like helicopter landing or some shit, like kind of wind. It was something strong.
Else. Yeah. It's death. And so that's whenever we do have them talking about the Flight 180.
I love how she just turns around and whips out Abe's picture, Abe Lincoln's photo. I was like, what the fuck does Abe got to do with this?
And so he's a vampire slayer. And so they he's like, when's the last time you ate? And so she doesn't even remember. So they're going to go get food. They're looking, and she's giving him information about, the pictures and the connections to Flight 180 and all that stuff. Yeah, because
the Abe photo had like a glass crack right up over his head. And it was the last like photo plate of him ever taken. And it basically shows exactly where he was shot. The 9/11. We see the shadow on the Twin Towers, And I guess it was like about where it hit.
It's basically trying to give power to like how the photos have a lot of power in this film.
Yes, yeah. It's really leaning into that. The 180 road crash, basically. And then that's when she shows him all the photos from that night predicting their death.
And he almost hits someone because he's being distracted as he's driving down the hill on the road. Because
they're like, she's trying to show him the pictures while driving. And it's like, not the time, especially with how hilly of an area that is too.
Yeah.
Yeah, it almost takes out. He is what causes it, basically, because I believe it's that same semi
truck,
that comes barreling down the hill later.
Just like all the other movies, they usually are connected to what's happening.
Yeah.
Somehow inadvertently causing their own deaths.
But then this is where they figure out like, okay, Frankie's going to be next. And then they're looking at the photo and
to try to get some
he's
clues.
like, he's going to fall off a ladder. It's a rope ladder. Is he going to die? And they're like, the mud flap girl, maybe it'll have an 18-wheeler or something, which was kind of it.
It was kind of it. I did also like how like the 18-wheeler was moving behind them, and you could see that it said "drink responsibly," which is a calling back to number 2.
Yeah, I was like, is that the same beer truck? I think it was the same beer logo and everything.
Maybe.
I think it was the same exact truck.
It could be.
Because whenever I was like, is that the same beer truck? I think it's the same.
Like brand?
The brand looked the same, everything with the drink responsibly, like the font and everything.
It could be.
Which would be really cool if they...
Final Destination Cinematic Universe.
Yeah, it'd be really cool if they brought that back. I didn't fact check it, but it felt like the same truck.
We'll go with it.
Yeah.
And so when they're in the drive-through, they end up getting like pinned essentially into the side because they can't get out because this fucking truck is just too close to them. The drink responsibly truck.
The drink responsibly.
And so, which I also was thinking like, why is the truck even like parking here in the middle of the road like that? Anyways, they're there. They're stuck.
Well, if it was that same guy. He was drinking and driving whenever we saw him in the second one, so maybe he's drinking and driving now.
It's true. And there's a little compact SUV behind them, so they're stuck, and there's someone in front of them, and they're trying to figure it out. That's when we do see that the freaking truck that was up the hill that they almost hit earlier is like coming down. It's not a truck, it's like a delivery truck.
Yeah, it was like a moving, like a U-Haul.
Like that. And so it's coming down real fast. There's no driver in it. They see it. She's freaking out. They're trying to get out of the car. They only essentially narrowly get out because he kicks his own glass, windshield out, and they have to get out of it. But and the whole time I was thinking they honked at the person in front of them and he flipped them off, and I'm already thinking this is Frankie in front of them.
I know, and I was also a little bit like, how do you not know what Frankie drives?
Well, it was mentioned earlier he graduated 2 years before
prior,
them.
Yeah.
So they might not know what he drives.
True.
They just know him.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it seemed pretty clear, but
I
from
also
us at the outside perspective,
I also thought that
it's like this is clearly Frankie in front of y'all. But yeah, they get out just in time, so close. And of course, the other car backed up. The truck crashes into Kevin's car, sending the motor up and through into Frankie's head. Yeah. And we get the fan of the motor
chopping him up.
Yes. And the way that the brains hit the ground, that sound was like
squelching.
It was bad. I mean, it was really good.
Yeah,
it was really well done.
But it's gross.
It made me want to throw up.
Yeah. And they end up seeing his chain on the floor with the little mud flap woman, and they're like, oh shit. And they look up and his head just
yeah,
because it's not done yet. The fan
moves a little bit more, releasing his head, and they're like, oh god, it's Frankie, and they're covered in his
guts.
It's pretty rough.
And he was dead. The motherfucker died.
Yeah, he
horribly.
really is.
Instantly though. That's instant.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah.
So
You're not feeling.
I don't think he felt any pain.
Much of that.
Yeah.
And then we kind of flash to them, they're getting triage.
They're talking behind the ER truck kind of thing. Yeah.
And they're still covered in his brains. Her leg was it was all down her leg, and I was like, ugh.
And like you said earlier, there's no stopping in this movie because they're looking at the photos again.
Yep. And Kevin's basically saying Wolfer, who one of them said I don't want to look at it.
Yeah.
And
that's true.
the other one said willful ignorance is surrendering control. I don't know why I couldn't say the word willful. What the hell? Wilfred. But then this is where they're looking at the photos again, and this is where he says I was going to ask Carrie to marry me. Yeah, I was just waiting till after graduation. And that's when I was like, ooh,
She kind of looks at him funny because she's like, ooh. If only you knew what I knew.
Up with you, but we're not going to bring it up.
Nope.
And then this is where they come across yet another photo with Frankie, and it was the one that they took up the girl's skirt.
Yeah, and they see he's in it. And
in the background.
There's a fan behind him.
Yep. Blurred, like, it's moving real fast right behind his head.
Because at first they were thinking, like, wait, he didn't die with the truck, so, like, how, what? But so this tied it up even more. They're like, okay, we were looking at the wrong photo.
Like two photos basically kind of leaned into it.
That's true. Yeah.
Well, I guess the other photo didn't show what he won. It just showed how he won it.
Yeah.
That was artistic approach the death took.
For real.
But
they do notice that Lewis is next.
Yes. And they see that it looks like because she got a photo of him with that mallet and bell game. Strength tester, and it looks like the weight is kind of coming down on his head.
Yeah, and then there's a game thing behind him, and it's called something right. I don't know what it is, but it's like the Sultan something.
Yeah, and it's got this guy with two little swords,
blades. Yeah. And so essentially they are like they know that he is at some like workout summit or lifting competition. I don't know what he's doing.
It was like a camp for football. Yeah, basically, and it was just making them get more beefcaked or whatever. And of course we flashed to there, and it was at the like Sultan. Yeah, like the team's name was the Sultans.
Their mascot was the Sultans or something like that. Yeah,
and so like of course there they have this like plaque that's got the same two swords, type of swords
from the photo
overlapping, saying like what doesn't kill you makes you stronger, which is also a phrase we already heard earlier in the film. Yep. I believe Kevin said it as they were talking about getting onto Devil's Flight the first time before they even went to eat.
Also a really good song by Kelly Clarkson.
It's true.
What doesn't kill you makes you stronger.
Cannot hear that phrase and not sing that song in my head.
I'm already hearing it. Like the little
I saw you dancing, and then my brain was like, yeah, sing along.
Yeah. And so we do have heard and Kevin, I keep wanting to call him Ian, but Ian's the other dude, trying to talk to Lewis, and they're trying to like convince him like that death is after him and he needs to be careful. And
Kevin's like spitting straight facts.
Oh yeah, sure.
And then Lewis is having none of it.
He's being super stubborn.
Yo, 3 people have fucking died.
He's giving what we've had at least to the character in the first one. I forget that dude who died in Paris with the sign. Who was at first Carter being very like, nah, I'll die whenever I want to die. Yeah. And then
I die on my own terms.
Final Destination 2.
Motorcycle Man.
Eugene, yeah, who was also very like stubborn at the first.
I am so shocked at my memory.
Yeah. I didn't even remember their names.
Never happens. I can't even remember our own live show time.
Yay. And so that's whenever we do have what's his face, Lewis, just going on and on about how like he'll die on his own terms and death doesn't scare him. And all around him we have like all these guys like lifting and grunting. We have these really heavy weights, and we see
big
like,
old stuffed bear.
Yeah,
but they've already kind of punched, and they're like, fuck the Bruins. Fuck, yeah, what even is a Bruin anyway? That's a bear.
And we have this other dude Wendy notices that this dude plugs in a radio, but there's like water next to it. So like there's all these things that are like he could die by all these different reasons.
And that also kind of felt like a callback maybe to the first one. I didn't think of that until right now, but with how what's his face
with the radio,
yeah,
and the water.
I don't remember his name now.
Who died? Todd. Yeah.
Wow. That's amazing. But yeah, and she's feeling very much kind of like she was at the night of the carnival. She's very scared, on edge again, looking over her shoulder. Everything feels like a clue. And
it all is.
It is.
Because then we have
perfect chain of events.
Like this dude dropping some weights the wrong way, and then something else flies.
He like hits the bear. The bear's nail goes flying, which hits the swords, and then it cuts the cords of the weights. But like, of course, we're like watching all this happen, and it's like, oh, and then so Lewis, of course, thinks he's survived.
Yeah, because he doesn't die.
He's like, oh, I didn't see, death can't get me. I'm kind of like what's his face in the first one, like I'm invincible, like you're not gonna kill me. And then he goes to do the weight thingy again, and then
his head just gets smushed.
Yeah, the cord that was connecting the weights, like, or keeping them together. Yeah, and
so it just took him moving it and
smashed his head, and that was
and it gets splattered all over once again. Miss Wendy and Kevin, they get so much guts on them throughout this whole movie.
They really do.
Yeah, and obviously, like anybody else, they end up, getting checked out again by the the ER and all that. They're like, I think they have different set of clothes on. Yeah. And at this point, Wendy's freaked out, right?
Yeah, she's like, why me? Why is this happening to me? Like, did I do something to deserve this? Because like, honestly, I would really love for this to not be me.
Yeah. Because I think at this point too, she's like, did I do something? Like, did I cause it? Yeah.
Yeah. She's feeling like really guilty, I think.
Survivor's
and then
guilt.
Also just
freaked out.
Like over it. Yeah. And terrified.
Yeah.
I would be too. And then this is where we flash to Aaron and Ian
and
in
they're
our
at work,
department store.
the Home Depot.
Home Depot, yeah.
He's shooting birds with a nail gun, which is not cool.
I know.
Poor birds, but apparently
Poor
the pigeons
piggins.
keep causing piggins.
But then it was a nice
Death by
callback to
piggins.
piggins. Yeah.
That's true. Oh my gosh, I didn't even think about that.
And then he's also on
wow.
kind of like a forklift thing that was kind of what like went awry to drop. And his death is kind of similar to that kid's.
Oh, which
like
kid?
Ian's death is similar to that being smushed. How the kid gets flattened by the
the glass thing.
Yeah, but
yeah, that's true. I didn't even think about that, and that happens later on.
Yeah,
I like that. Yeah. It also kind of the scene of them in the field where the festival happens in the third act of this movie reminds me of the field in the second one. Whenever Jude got sliced with the fence.
Oh
and
yeah,
all that,
yeah.
kind of those.
Like, yes, where it was just like back to back to back. Shit's hitting the fan. Yeah.
But
it's like we got a lot of deaths to knock out right now.
We do, and so. They're at work. They call each other Pip and something else. I don't know.
Pip and Zip, I think.
Yeah.
I didn't actually write it down.
Over the walkies.
But I was like, what?
Yeah. And so we have Wendy scaring.
Oh,
Wendy
and she says,
she
says, these pinhead customers can't put anything back. And I was like, ooh, girl, you're about to be the pinhead.
You are. Oh, that's true. And so we do have
like
Wendy
Hellraiser.
and Kevin showing up. It is. And she scares Miss Erin. And she then calls over McKinley because she's like, you got to listen to this. And so.
And he's like fucking with the lights. So at first we're like, oh no, God, what's happening? And then he's like, ooh. And I was like, fuck you, dude.
And so they won't listen. Essentially, they both are kind of thinking it's bullshit.
Saying like, oh yeah, actually, because they're trying to ask them like who was sitting behind them. And so they were like, you know, it was this man in a cloak. And they actually confiscated his scythe or his little sword thing kind of thing. So like basically saying it was like the Reaper, death behind them. And, you know, they're just being assholes. And then basically they're saying that like death is a force. It's a transferred energy kind of thing. And then all the while we're seeing wind blow the chimes, but nothing is,
Nothing's really
there should be no wind in the store.
Oh, yeah, that's true.
Nothing's really happening.
Yeah.
But then as Ian is up on the forklift thing, Wendy starts putting two and two together. She sees a similar flag type of a banner that was behind him, which said the way it said skill in the photo,
looked like kill.
But it looked like kill. And then it's like on those little, I don't know, it gave very Renaissance Festival kind of banner pennants. And then that's when they're like kind of like, oh God, and they freak him out.
Yeah.
And he like kind of low-key crashes the
because
forklift.
Kevin was saying something like, be
Watch
careful
out for those boxes.
Yeah. And he's like, why would I watch out for those boxes? They weren't doing anything. He's like, they were about to fall. And so they're essentially trying to get across that like, y'all are making yourselves crazy. Like nothing's even after us. There's nothing after us. You're just whatever, cuckoo.
Yeah.
Because I guess that they're, like we said, physics, you know, nerds. So they're all about logic. So they're just like, this is a bunch of hoopla.
Yeah.
And they're also saying like, we're organisms. We were meant to die. We will die, and like it'll happen to all of us.
Yeah.
And so while this is happening, another forklift accidentally gets like turned on.
Yeah, because while he's up there, some nails fall, and then Erin picks him up with the little magnet thing that gets all the nails up, and she puts it down, but then it accidentally connects to one of the chains that are on like a pulley system, and the chain goes down, and then it just like perfectly sets like this chain of events in motion, which makes the other forklift start driving.
That's right.
And then of course now Ian is operating a skill saw, which felt very much a tie into the skill of the photo with the kill. And so then, because while we were watching this, Andrew was like, how the fuck did they not hear that? And I was like, I was thinking that too, but with that skill saw going, you probably can't hear shit. But then the skill saw does eventually stop. And so I'm like, oh, God, I hear this motherfucker just like driving over all this merchandise.
Literally. Like if it wasn't death, they would like be fired the next morning. And so essentially, that's whenever we do have it setting off like all those, what are those windshield wiper fluid? I don't know what it is. Stuff starts getting like squished and like liquid getting all over the place, until it bumps all the way across to the next like aisle, whatever it is, those things called. Yeah. An aisle, cabinet, files. Well, because the aisle is what you walk through.
Yeah,
what's the stuff? The shelving?
The end cap?
The end cap of all the shelving and stuff. And so it then becomes like a domino effect because all those stakes fall off the top.
Yeah.
Kevin does save Ian, and he like jumps at him and they go right next to it, but then everything else starts falling over, and it's just like basically avoiding everything falling off of the top shelves.
Because it's a lot of shit coming down.
For like literally 4 sections.
Yeah.
And then
you're getting just sheets and sheets of
sheetrock, like, I think, falling on them and stuff.
Or plywood, and then those stakes, everything's coming down. Not things you want to land on you.
But they end up being okay, but then it ends up getting all the way to Erin, and then Erin slips and then falls backwards to where she knocks her head up against to where the nail gun was, and her head just starts getting ding, 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 ding.
And her hand is like on stuck to her face, and I love this scene.
Oh yeah, I know you said that. Yeah.
That she makes,
and then they're all just like screaming and looking at her, and I never remembered it being so graphic.
Yeah,
maybe because I've only seen this maybe I had seen it on TV before, I don't know, so they cut away pretty fast.
Oh yeah, they could have.
It lingers so much on her face.
It really shows you. Yeah. That's what, every time I pick up a nail gun, I think of the scene. Or like a staple gun,
like you
anything.
Put it through your own face and see what that's like.
Kind of.
Yeah.
And then all before this too, I feel like this kind of, like before the chain of events happens, basically Ian saying that the action we take may have an opposite reaction and thwarts death plan. Like basically saying like the law of motion, every like action has an equal and opposite reaction. And he says, so maybe if we just, the last in line should kill themselves, and then, we won't really have any of this to happen, so we already kind of get this like bad grudge from Ian to Wendy.
Towards Wendy.
Yeah.
And I like how that ties in this one where they're like, well, if the last one kills themselves, everything is set up, like fixes itself. This is how we defeat death. You know what I mean?
Yeah, because now we've just skipped all of those deaths.
And in every movie, there's some like, in the first one, it was like, if you save someone, it does this and that. I don't know. And then the second one, it was like, Kimberly, what if there was new life, if a baby was born, which obviously it never fixes anything, but there's always some kind of something where they, throughout the movie, believe if we do this, we'll escape it.
Yeah. It's like a little thread of hope that is not real.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so basically, then we flash to them getting out of
the police station.
Yeah. And rightly so, because I would probably
be
questioning
to every
these
murder.
Twins, or this couple of death, people as well. And then
I do like how they didn't like really hone in on it too much though. Like in the first one.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, because I felt like it gave more air to breathe for us to follow along the main characters as opposed to like having to spend time like in a jail cell, in a this, and like having to explain what's going on, even though we know that these people won't believe. And I think even though like, we've done it twice before, nobody's going to believe them.
Yeah.
So why waste any time on them?
Yeah. We know no one believes them.
Because we did infer them
They don't even believe themselves, really.
Yeah. And then the cops come showing up later on anyways in the third act. And it doesn't even have to be mentioned, but we already know like they're looking for Wendy because they think like there's some suspicious shit going on. Yeah.
And she's showing up.
She's suspect number 1.
Exactly. And then so basically as they're saying their little goodbyes, because
they have to separate for a few hours.
Yeah. And she's like, I'm not going to be able to rest anyways. I'm going to be just so nervous until I know you're okay, kind of thing. Yeah. And then he was like, it's only a few hours. And I was like, y'all just talked about how only a few hours the next people could be dead. Yeah. But then he brings up why we don't even like each other, because that was a little line that she had said to him earlier. But we see Ian sitting in his van in the parking lot.
He's being weird.
Yep. And he's watching her.
Yeah. She ends up being asleep at home like falling asleep at the computer. Julie comes in to like try to talk to her, but she ends up seeing that she's asleep, so she takes her bracelet and leaves. And her sister wakes up, Miss Wendy, and that's when she gets on the computer and she notices that in one of the pictures that had the one that she took where someone did the hand in front of the camera, she zooms in and she notices that it's
the same charm bracelet.
So the person that they've been trying to find out who has been behind Frankie, behind Ian and what's her face, was her sister the whole time.
Yep. And then likely one of her, Amber or Penny, were probably with her.
Yeah.
And then she goes to her photo and she's on the phone with Kevin, basically like trying to explain. Yeah. And she says, my photo's just black. It has Jay's face. And then she was like, but there's just a black backdrop. But then she goes, well, McKinley. My shirt says McKinley, AKA Ian.
Yeah.
And then
his clue for his picture is that it's like overexposed with his face, like as if a firework went off in his face.
Yeah. And he's like kind of grimacing a bit. And then so she's driving to the festival thing, tricentennial thing. And then we get our classic song that's got to let you know when things are going bad. It's our John Denver.
Yeah.
And it's such a fucking creepy song.
The one that someone's behind you.
There is someone walking behind you. Turn around. Look at me.
I didn't even know that was John Denver as well.
Well, I don't think it is John Denver.
Oh, but it's like what's this version of this? Yeah. I get you.
But it's fucking creepy.
Yeah.
And it kind of also reminded me of Urban Legends with the turn around.
Oh yeah.
Every now and then, and basically it's telling you to turn around.
Yeah.
Because her radio haywires.
Yeah.
She looks in her rearview mirror. Ian is tailing her.
Yeah.
Rather aggressively. And it's a fucking creepy song. She almost hits a black wolf.
She does, which is
was
weird.
Like, what? Okay.
It's kind of like an extra, like, what? But yeah.
It's like just throwing a, it's like, oh, this is a bad sign.
Yeah, maybe like a bad omen.
Yeah.
And so we do have Julie arriving to the festival. Ian sees her, and so he's trying to like also be vigilant, like around himself, because he's like trying not to like die, and he's like trying to stop people from doing the like sparklers too close. What?
I just came up with the most bizarre theory.
Okay.
What if this is all tied to Bagul?
Oh.
Because remember, there was like a snake, the scorpion,
and a wolf,
and a black dog that symbolized Bagul, and this is all taking place through photos.
Oh yeah. If they only had the scorpion and the...
Yeah, they could have been little hidden gems.
That's true.
It's not all tied to Bagul, but that's when my brain was like,
that'd be
Bagul
cool.
is here.
He's in everything. And so please don't bring up Bagul.
I know, I'm sorry.
And so we have them, he's trying to be vigilant and like making sure that nobody's doing something stupid to cause a stupid accident to happen, like those little kids and all that stuff.
Fireworks. And
yeah.
Ben Franklin's like, now let us hope for some lightning. And he's like, fuck you, Ben Franklin.
Yeah. And he tries to talk to Julie, but she's like not paying attention to him, and she's trying to flirt with these boys, and he tries to like put his hands on her to like get her attention, like, you're coming with me, and she ends up running away from him.
Yeah, so dramatic.
Yeah,
and
when she has to try to follow her, he like pushes some boys out of the way.
And we also saw like this cannonball that kind of goes rolling, because basically these two guys, they're like, okay, well, we need to get away from the fireworks as well. So they kind of dip. They leave the cannon unattended, which doesn't seem super safe.
No.
But the little thingy that goes inside the cannon hole like fell over, knocks one of the cannonballs over, goes rolling, knocking the cart props over. So we already see that one of the carts holding the fireworks is completely unstable.
Yeah. And at this point, we do see the cop showed up, and it seems like they're looking for Wendy.
Yeah.
And Wendy is searching for her sister. And the crowd is like kind of mixing up. And at this point, like the lights dim, and like it's showtime, and like they're about to do the whole fireworks show. So everybody's kind of like gathering around. And Kevin is still trying to find or trying to get to Julie. And we do have these little like dickheads, yeah, basically. I said, the dicks scare the horse with like these little what are they called? Firecrackers, yeah.
And we had already like this horse was like clearly spooked already.
Yeah. And the horse shouldn't be here if there's gonna be fireworks.
Yeah, it shouldn't. And then they just set the fucking firecrackers off like right next to the horse's feet,
and so it scares and it starts taking off, and it starts hitting people immediately.
Yeah, it really does. And it breaks free, and like it was tied to the ground with this like wooden stake, but it yanks that stake right out of the ground.
Yeah.
And so this horse is like charging full speed with this, probably stake. 20 feet of rope behind it with this giant wooden stake on it. Very
dangerous.
Perfect death trap.
Yeah, for anybody, not just them, but especially for them. And so as soon as Kevin can get up like Julie's attention, he finally fucking stops, and she's like, I'm trying to save your life, essentially. The horse comes, he pushes her out the way, but not enough, because the rope with the stake comes and wraps around her neck and starts dragging her.
Yep. Which is just,
yeah, which is pretty brutal, because she's just getting drugged like through the mud, essentially, literally,
while having a rope tied around her throat.
So she's getting strangled.
Yeah.
Which used to happen. Yeah. To people getting killed like that, it's horrible. Not a good way to go. And so she ends up essentially getting saved by Kevin once again, because he gets a knife, close. Right? Or a blade, something. He
has it.
Cuts
right
the
before
rope.
it gets to whatever that. It's some sort of farming
that
tool.
It tills the mud, the dirt and
got
stuff.
a fuck ton of spikes in it, and her head was about to go through it.
Yeah, so he saves her just in
time.
And that's whenever
Wendy, they're basically yelling at her like, who is sitting next to you? Who is sitting next to you? And they were like, what?
And it just kind of looks at Penny or Julie. We don't know, or Penny or whatever, Amber. But one of them gets up, and we're like, oh, it was her, and a stake goes through her.
Yeah, because one of the a skewer hit the propane when the horse was running by, like hit the propane like fuse, and basically it explodes, and then that's what sent that through her. Yep. And then now we get Ian showing up.
We do. And
he's kind of stalking them, and they're like, just you stay away. Like, we already, we saved someone, so it skipped you, like, these people, and so now it's my turn, and like, if you just stay away, then we can skip this all.
You'll save my life. And he's being a dick, and he's just like yelling,
do I cause your death?
Yeah.
Just like you cause Aaron's?
Yeah.
And I was like,
he's being really cynical, and he's basically saying, well, I don't have to worry about anything because it skipped me and I survived.
I'm not dying.
I
Famous
can do anything.
Words.
Yeah. And we do have these fireworks that end up going off, and they shoot like right past him, just enough for him to be like, ha ha ha. And it's another Lewis moment where he's like escaped it, but then the sign gets like let loose on top of him, and it comes down, crushing him just like it did to the boy.
Yeah, but this time cuts him in half.
Yeah,
and you get a nice little like shot twitching of his body all
there. They just watch him all like being severed,
and then it fades to white as they're covered in blood again, and it 5 months later on the subway.
And that's right. Roll the credits.
Yep.
No, but it's 5 months later, and we have Wendy on the train. She's obviously talking to some new friends, and that's whenever we have them. They're gonna go to this next stop, but we have the song getting played. There's someone behind you, and so she's getting all these weird feelings. She ends up
gets the wind on the subway, like
where there's not supposed to be wind. She ends up seeing there. It was train cart like 081
was the subway car.
It gets reflected in the mirror, and it's train 180
in the mirror,
and she sees all the ads that are on the train, and
it's basically for all the deaths that
where
happened.
The people died at.
Tanning beds, the hardware store, everything.
And so we do have Tony
no escaping death and taxes.
Yeah. And there's Tony Todd's voice coming on over again, and it's the same stuff that was said over the Devil's Flight.
Next stop is the end of the line, basically. And then she's like, I could use some air. Let's get off at Booth, which I wonder if it's Booth, like John Wilkes Booth. Yeah.
Because of Lincoln?
Yeah.
Maybe.
I don't know.
Just to tie that in. And so that's whenever she wants to get off, but her sister ends up coming onto the train. So Kawinka Dink, I don't think.
Nope.
Sure
doesn't, because of course she can't get off, and the guys who blocked her from getting off dropped this candy bar, and then the little rat comes to get the candy bar, which is gonna set everything in motion.
Yep.
And then it was like, oh, good, they're both here, killing both of them in one stroke.
Yeah, shit, Julie's here, and so she wants to introduce Julie and to her friends. And as soon as she goes to introduce her to her friends, that's whenever she notices that Kevin's on the fucking train.
Yep, because she was saying like her sister was trying to calm her down, saying like, you don't have to really worry about anything until
like we went over it.
Like Kevin, like I just saw Kevin, he was fine. You don't really have to worry about anything until he's like dead too.
Yeah.
Basically, and then a cue Kevin sitting there,
and it's
too perfect,
orchestrated even as well, because the sister was like, yeah, Dad's car died out of nowhere, and so I just ended up
yeah.
taking a train. So it's kind of like all these other things happen too to get them in the same spot.
Yeah, to put them there all at the same time. And then we basically see the track switches because of the rat eating the candy bar. It like does something,
it's like a
makes
1, 2,
it
3.
haywire,
Yeah.
and derails the train.
Yeah.
Julie,
and because we have everybody dying. Julie gets fucking murdered by
some flying shrapnel.
Yeah, just
takes
getting
her
thrown.
out.
Yeah, and then we have Kevin dying, like going sucked out of the train cart, and then we have Miss what's her face, Wendy. She's like an only survivor, but then there's another train coming, almost like Kimberly with that other truck semi coming, and then she comes out and it's another fucking vision. And I'm just like, oh my gosh, not again.
It felt like it would have been the ending because it like you see her sitting there like she can't get up, she has a broken leg, like bone sticking through the leg probably, and she's completely stuck and just goes nice bright white light, and then we're back and she's talking to Kevin again, and
she's got a tear in her eye,
and she says it's like that night,
and he's like, oh my god, and they're like, not again, and then it just fades to black and you just hear like a car, like the screeching and the accident happening. So
you see them trying to stop the train, and then it all goes black, and then I loved that the ending credits were the Love Train song, like people around the world join hands.
That's true.
Love Train.
I didn't even think about that.
Yeah, they were very clever with their music choice throughout all of it. I love it though. It's awesome.
That's awesome. Yeah, no, it was pretty good. Solid ending.
What would you give this film? How many boos, rather?
How many boos would I give? Final Destination 3. I give Final Destination 3 3.3 boos.
Really? Why is
3.3 boos. 3.3. I gave the second one 4.5, right? I want to say it was 4 or 4.5.
Yes, you gave it a 3.5, and then you had originally given the first one a 4.5, and then you bumped it, or a 4. And then you bumped it up to a 4.5.
I need to start writing these down. At 3.5. This one didn't have me as wrapped around as the other two, I would say. Some of the... maybe I didn't care as much about these characters as I did in the other films. They weren't as fleshed out, I feel like. The movie was very fast. And it really was centered heavily. Well, the other one was centered heavily with Kimberly and the other dude too. And this one has these two, and the other one has Alex. And I don't know. I think the formula in this one, there was something about it that kind of felt what's the word? Like the other two movies, maybe it was the cast, felt more grown up. And this one felt a little bit more juvenile in a sense, if that makes any type of sense. But so for me, it kind of, I guess, made the stakes not as like high. Maybe because it's also the third one that I'm like, okay, I know what's going to happen. We know what's going to happen. Yeah. But I mean, it was pretty creative in the deaths.
Yeah.
And it was a pretty good storyline. I liked Wendy. The tanning bed was probably like the coolest death. I feel like maybe some of these deaths weren't as brutal, like too quick. Like even Lewis, like that, just the head squish and that's it.
I think I liked that about it though. So as if we listen back to 2, I had an issue with about how some of the deaths looked. Especially with the special / practical effects. This one I felt like did a really great job of
effect-wise
doing it. And it also kind of reminds me of the first one where there wasn't as much gore actually shown. However, this one does still give you plenty of gore, but they did it in a like tasteful way, in my opinion, that didn't it didn't look as cheap as I think maybe some of the deaths did in the second one. Now, were those deaths super awesome in the second one? Yes. I just wish that they could have been like
fleshed out better,
looked a little bit better. Yeah. But I really think I did enjoy the deaths in this one. That tanning bed scene, obviously it stuck with me. This one, of course, is my like nostalgic of the 3 because I did play with that DVD pick your own ending so many times. I loved it. totally was a fan of that bit. And it's just really cool. And so all of these deaths stuck with me. The nail gun, like I said, every time I pick up a nail gun, I think of through the head.
The tanning bed one and the nail gun one were the only ones I remembered. Everyone else is like the other ones I didn't remember.
Yeah, I definitely remembered the motor through the head as well, because like,
I didn't remember that one at all.
Anytime someone's going too fast behind me, that's what I think. I'm like, oh God,
it's gonna
God,
happen.
if we crash it, that's what's gonna happen to me.
Gotcha.
Especially because like my car is so little into the ground, and 18-wheelers love to
be right.
Yeah, not see me.
Oh, okay.
I've been
literally
bumped by an 18-wheeler before in that turn.
That's scary.
It just like turned right into me, and I was like, I'm right here. But so that scene comes into my head a lot. And then I remembered every death, I think, from this film. None of them were very surprising to me.
Yeah.
But again,
like I said, I feel like every time I've watched it before, I feel like I watched an edited version, because everything seemed more gruesome. Maybe that's why I remember the deaths before, because they were like chopped, cut, fade away.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Couldn't really show you. Yeah. And that would make perfect sense. I liked the characters in this one. I thought they were pretty well done. Wendy at times seemed a little overacted to me.
Oh gosh. Whenever she was talking to Julie in the room, and she was like, she was saying some word, and she was like, I don't know. Her acting was a little bit over the board.
It was like, okay. But overall, I mean, I still liked this film. I liked I liked how the opening sequence was different. Obviously, I love roller coasters. So this was kind of fun, because it then just put another fear into my head. I also do love flying on planes. I love going to the airport, and I also love driving
going places. But planes, I do get nervous on planes.
Oh, yeah. I mean, I do once if there's some turbulence, but otherwise I'm like, woohoo, airplane, let's go. There's something like, even driving home and early in the morning or something, it always makes me feel like I'm going to the airport with just like the winding roads and then like all the lights on. And I love that feeling, even if it's like at the ass crack of dawn and you're just like, I am so tired.
My flights are always like early.
It's because they're cheapest. No one wants to get up that early.
Yeah. And nobody's there. Yeah.
Yep. And that's why I love it. But yeah, I feel like I would give this film, I believe I gave Final Destination 1 a 4.5. And I think I want to keep this one at a 4.5 as well.
Okay.
Yeah.
I'll give it a 3.5.
I was honestly surprised. Like, I liked the first one more than I remembered going back and watching it through that lens. And then now I have a greater appreciation for this series. And I do want to go ahead and watch 4 and 5. You should watch 4. Yeah.
I feel like you should watch 4. Well, 4 and 5. Yeah. 5, I told you what happened a little bit in that one.
I forgot already. Don't worry.
About the...
Death
comes up with a new way of telling them like how to survive.
Oh, yeah. Which I'd be excited to watch them into like preparation for the 6th one coming out. And so maybe we can cover 4, 5, 6 at a later date.
Yeah.
I think that'd be fun.
If the 6th one does, when it comes.
Yeah, if and when. But yeah, so that's it. That's Final Destination 3, 2006, a 3.5 and a 4.5, making it a 4.
Yeah.
From your boo bays.
Your favorite boos.
Yeah. And so we were at RogueCon this past weekend.
We were.
And
it was fun.
It was fun. And you'll probably maybe get that little episode as a like bonus
content.
Yeah. Sometime later. It was a good time.
Yeah.
We got to just chat about our favorite horror films.
We
favorite
did. We
horror
both
movies
gave our top 5 favorite
from what we've covered thus far.
Yeah. Movie
like
moments.
Scenes. Yes. So it was kind of cool. And we realized that now this, I believe, is our 88th episode, this one that's coming out.
That's a lot.
So we're getting close to 100. We should maybe plan something special for 100.
Tricentennial. What does that even mean? Tricentennial. It happens 3 times
a century? Yeah.
Isn't that just annually? Right? And then just like once
Isn't a century 10 years?
A century is 100 years.
And then a decade is 10 years.
Once every 100 years.
Tricentennial though, I think it would happen 3 times a century. So every something. I don't know.
25 years.
That would be 4 though.
I don't know how that works. I'll Google it. All right. Well, again, and as always, we are in our lovely Rogue Media Network studios.
That's right.
Studio.
They take great care of us.
They do. You can listen to our podcast and a lot of other podcasts on their website.
And that is
at roguemedianetwork.com.
And you can also listen to us on a slew of podcasting platforms, biggest 2 being
Spotify
and Apple. And wherever you do listen, don't forget to
rate, review, like, and subscribe.
That's right, because that is the only way we can get ahead in this world. And then if you would like to reach out to us and let us know your thoughts on Final Destination 3, which one of the 5 is your favorite?
Which one? And
then... Or let us know your favorite scary movie.
Or let us know your favorite kill, your favorite memory or nostalgic memory with these movies if you have one. Yeah.
Because it clearly it has an effect on everyone. Like I said, Andrew's having nightmares, like Final Destination nightmares where just everything was going wrong after it.
Yeah.
And I told him, I was like, ooh.
It's because of that movie.
Just get ready because, you're going to be paranoid after watching this. And sure enough.
That's how I am after watching the second one all the time.
Yeah, it makes you...
Especially because of Road.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's scary. But you can reach out to us on our one social media platform, and that is Instagram at
Boobays Podcast, and that's BOOBAES because we're your boobays, not your boo babes.
That's right. And then this week we will also have a listener request coming out.
We will be.
I believe we're covering Signs. That's right.
That's for our listener, Andrew.
Shout
out to Andrew. What?
He sponsors this podcast.
He does, with his love and affection.
That's right. He bought Final Destination 3 for us to watch.
Cute.
Or rented it.
I watched it on TV for free, but there's ads, so...
I wasn't in the mood for ads, so...
Yeah, I feel that.
But the ads are kind of nice because you can catch up on your notes in that
That's what I find.
Yeah.
Yeah, when I have the ads
I'm like,
come up.
okay, I can type all my notes out really fast and finish my
fix the
sentence.
typos.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, because they're always
all
littered with typos. And I'm like, half the time I read the notes and I have no clue what the fuck I've said. But yeah, so we'll be covering Signs. We got a few new listener requests after this weekend. And we had also gotten another one previously this week as well from a brand new listener named Phil.
Nice, Phil. Thank you, Phil, for all your input.
It's Andrew's best friend.
Oh, really?
Yeah, he started listening and he was like,
that's awesome.
He was like, this is pretty good.
Aww.
And was talking to Andrew about it. So, yeah, so that's very sweet. And he gave us 2 films to watch.
Ooh, I see.
So
I'm looking at it now.
I think I only wrote down one of them.
Okay, the Haunted Asylum one?
Yeah.
Gotcha.
I really want to watch that movie.
Ooh.
It is in Korean. So, but it's
There's
good.
A lot of movies
and it's also found footage.
Cool.
But I'm excited.
Oh,
yeah.
Great.
I know.
Fucking hell. All right, Phil.
He said that and
Don't
I was like,
listen to us anymore.
I was like, I have to convince Josh. I was like, not only is this film found footage, but it's also in a foreign language. So I know that those aren't your favorite for watching while taking notes.
But it's okay. I'll do it. For Phil. Only for Phil.
Only for Phil. But yeah, so until next time, you guys.
Bye, bays.
Bye, bays.
This has been a Rogue Media podcast.